Hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I hope the first day of the new year has been going well for you guys. I hope that you had fun last night, safe fun with your loved ones, and y'all brung in the New Year's right. Um, I do want to start off before anything. There has been a couple of incidents that happened last night where people did not make it with us to the new year, and I want to say rest in peace to all the people who have lost their lives yesterday and the day, even earlier this morning. There's a couple of incidents that's happening. There was an incident that happened in New Orleans, and now I'm hearing that there's an incident that happened in Las Vegas early in the morning. So please, rest in peace to all the individuals who have lost their life, and prayers up to the ones who are recovering from horrible, horrible events. Okay. But I do hope everybody else is doing well and doing good. Excuse me if I look kind of young. Don't I wanted to actually showcase the merchandise, right? So I have on the Move Around sweater from my store that is associated with this channel. This is the Move Around channel, a Move Around sweater for the corner girls. This is for girls, and I wanted to actually showcase it to you guys. So if you like it, you can go ahead and look at my store, and you can go get you one if you like this nice little pullover sweatshirt. It's very comfortable, very good material. I have a medium on, and this is pretty baggy for a medium, right? So it's really, really nice. And I do have something for the gentleman. I'm waiting for the Corner Boys sweatshirt and sweat jacket to come to my house so I can actually show you the merchandise. So if anybody's interested in that, just look at my store. Okay. So anyway, back to the drawing board. So I have 3 videos that I want to go over with you, 3 cases. They're quite unique in its own way. The first one we're going to look at is when a genius turns rogue, or when a genius turned bad. A rocket scientist pretty much is a suspect for a unaliving of another individual, and it becomes a battle of the wits between him and the detectives. And I think that we should look into that, right? So let me go ahead and pull up my screen, and we will get into it. All right, here we go.
On May 15th, 2018, at exactly 1:05 p.m., customers were relaxing at the Magyar Cosmetica Spa located at 11 Marablu Drive in Aliso Viejo when something inside the spa exploded.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by.
911, what is your emergency?
Please, there's someone inside.
In a hurry, first responders rushed to the scene. When they arrived, they discovered devastating news. There were 3 victims in the spa that were caught in the explosion. A mother and daughter who survived with severe burns and lacerations, and Ildiko Krajniak, the owner of the spa, who was killed instantly. The inside of Ildiko's spa was unrecognizable, and the blast was significant enough that human remains were discovered outside of the building. Local authorities immediately opened an investigation into the explosion, and began by interviewing the 2 people that were injured from the blast. According to these witnesses, they were inside the spa with Ildiko, having just completed their treatments. As they went to the front desk to make their payment, they saw Ildiko pick up a package and walk into her office. As soon as she tore it open, there was a bright flash and a loud explosion.
It was definitely rectangular. It's probably shoebox height, but I don't remember it being that wide.
These witness statements
Thank you,
made it
dear
evident
sir.
to law
Thank you for the
enforcement that the
compliment.
explosion
I
was
very
not
much
an
appreciate it.
accident or the result of a gas leak, but likely a targeted attack. The FBI located materials in the blast zone that are typically found in homemade explosives, confirming their beliefs that this was caused by a bomb.
At this point, our working theory is that this explosion was caused by a device, and although the damage was extensive, there are some components that we have located at the scene of the explosion that are inconsistent with what one might expect to find at this business.
At this point, the investigators had a handful of questions. For example, How did an explosive device make its way to the spa? And was Ildiko the intended target? As they continued to search for these answers, they received a call from a 64-year-old man named Stephen Beal. Stephen helped Ildiko manage the spa, and when the news broke about the explosion, he was unable to contact Ildiko, so he reached out to the police for help. Since it was so early into the investigation, police were unable to provide any information. However, they were concerned that he might also be a target since he was a part of the spa's management team, so they drove directly to his house. Upon arrival, they noticed.
Hey, Lana, darling, thank you for coming. Thank you for stopping by. Much appreciated. I wanted to stop here because this is really weird, right? Someone placed a bomb at the spa, and this is the stuff that it was used is not something that you would actually find at a spa. So they're not going to initially go the route that it could have been one of the employees who made a homemade bomb at home or used the material at the spa to make this bomb. So they're wondering, how did that type of material, which is probably you probably have to have like certain access to even get that material. How was that? Who had that type of access, and why was the bomb placed in the spa to blow up? So now they think that somebody wanted to hit off of the owners, and let's see what else they have to say. But right now, so far, is very interesting.
Noticed that he had some unopened parcels, and exercising caution, they asked for his permission to inspect them.
Can they go inside and take a look at those packages?
Please. Right as you open the door, the packages are to the left. There's 3 and they're in a stack.
Once the officers ruled out any threats, they conducted a preliminary interview with Stephen. They were wondering if he was aware of any enemies that Ildiko may have had.
I cannot come up with a single thought for who would ever want to hurt her. She was always smiling. She had great advice for people. She cared. She went out of her way to ease your burden, to do things for you. She'd buy things for people. She, when we go traveling, she'd send texts to various clients and friends. Say, what do you want me to bring? We bring back keychains. That's just the kind of, she's a very giving person.
Stephen spoke so highly of Ildiko that the officers wondered if the two were anything beyond business partners, so they asked Stephen about their personal relationship.
How long have you known her for?
We met June 19th, 2016 was our first date.
I notice you remember the exact date. How'd you guys meet?
Tinder.
Oh, through Tinder?
Yeah.
Okay. So June 19th, 2016, you met through Tinder.
Yeah, we were dating, we're business partners.
Got
we're
it.
Still, very good friends, and but we're not dating anymore. So,
How long did you guys have a dating relationship?
about 1.5 years.
Since detectives now knew that Ildiko was cheating on her husband, they wondered if her husband's knowledge of the affair could be a motive for the attack. So just like that, the spouse became the first suspect. This is Ronilo Krajniak.
And like I said before, guys, when it comes down to situations like this, the first suspect is normally going to be the closest one to you at the time of the incident. So yes, the husband would be a suspect, and they have to do their process to rule him out. But I will say that they will take that guy, her business partner, into consideration too, because they were dating and they went into business with each other. And then after the intimate relationship ended, they still was business owners. Why wouldn't he possibly want to get rid of her so he could have the business all to himself? Or he doesn't want to go through the process of splitting the business, right? So those are things that we have to just take in consideration while we're getting more detail from this incident.
Ildiko's husband. At the time of the explosion, Ronilo wasn't even sure where his wife was. In fact, he had told his friends that he believed that she was still on a trip to Hungary. When he heard that Ildiko's spa had been bombed, he immediately jumped in his car and drove to the scene. When he arrived, he asked the officers if his wife was in the building, and he was met with devastating news. After informing him of her death, the officers also presented him with a warrant to search his and Ildiko's home. The search was exhaustive. However, investigators were unable to locate any incriminating evidence.
Search warrants were served earlier this morning, one at the business on Mariblu and one in Trabuco Canyon. At this time, there are no arrests.
Authorities acknowledge they have no profile of a suspect or suspects.
Directly following the search, the police conducted an interview with Ronilo, who had some suspicions of his own. Ronilo told officers about a building handyman named Max that maintained the commercial building where the spa was located. Apparently, Max had keys to each unit in the building and would often sleep in his van in the parking lot overnight. This seemed like a promising lead, since the building's cameras were not working, and Max was one of the only people with knowledge of this. However, after interviewing Max, he was also quickly cleared as a suspect. Another thing that Ronilo told the police was that in the months leading up to the attack, he had received text messages from a woman named Elizabeth who claimed that Ildiko had an affair with her husband, Gabor Pap. Elizabeth was questioned and told the officers the entire story. Apparently, in 2015, Elizabeth overheard Ildiko and Gabor having intercourse, which led to a physical altercation at Ildiko's spa. After this altercation, Gabor ended the affair and continued his relationship with Elizabeth. But eventually, Ildiko popped back up as she tried to reconnect with Gabor through Facebook. Despite this tension between the two women, Elizabeth denied any involvement in the bombing and was ultimately ruled out after cooperating with investigators. The next suspect on the detectives' radar was a man who was witnessed with Ildiko the morning of the explosion. This man was named Scott, and before the detectives could locate him, he showed up to the crime scene on his own accord, expecting to take Ildiko out for lunch. As it turns out, Ildiko was having an affair with Scott as well, and Scott was one of her newest boyfriends. Scott told the detectives that he and Ildiko first met at a casino only a few weeks earlier, and they continued seeing each other from that point on. He explained that Ildiko went on a trip to Hungary just 8 days before the explosion, and that he was her transportation to and from the airport. When he picked her up from LAX on May 14th, the evening before her death, the two spent the night together, and then Scott dropped her off at her spa the following morning. To corroborate his account,
Ooh, this lady been getting around. This lady been getting around as a married woman. In the course of, I think, 2 years, she has been with 3 men that are not her husband. 3 men that is not her husband she has had intimate relationships with. And that is something that the detectives have to literally interrogate and cross-examine 3 men outside of her husband to rule out that they didn't have no parts in dealings with it. That says a lot. That says a lot. Because that means that there's a lot of people that could have actually been angry with this woman, right? The women's, the men wives, the men themselves. That's like right there in itself. That's like literally adding 6 people. And then that's not even including her husband, who could have the main motive to be, to take out his anger or revenge on her. That's, let's go.
investigators reviewed the security footage from LAX. The footage from the LAX baggage claim confirmed Scott's story to be true, but upon further examination of Ildiko's itinerary, they discovered that she had actually booked a connecting flight through San Francisco before heading to Hungary. When reviewing the footage of the San Francisco airport, a new suspect emerged. Ildiko was seen flying to Hungary with another man. The mysterious man that Ildiko was seen traveling with was Laszlo Zarbo. Police got in touch with Laszlo, and he told detectives that he and Ildiko had been in an on-and-off relationship, and the trip to Hungary was the last time that he saw her. To rule him out further, police confirmed that he had not been in Southern California for months, so it was unlikely for him to have planted the bomb in the spa. And just as it appeared that the detectives were back at square one, they received an unexpected visit from Ildiko's business partner and ex-boyfriend, Stephen Beal. Stephen was seeking updates about the ongoing case and volunteered to speak with detectives about the incident.
Real quick before we start, I just want to, you're here voluntarily, you came in, drove in on your own? No one from the sheriff's department or any law enforcement agency asked you to come down, told you to come down. So when you're done talking to us, and just let me know when we can open that door right over there, and you can be on your way.
Okay, appreciate that.
As far as the business dynamic went, how did you guys split responsibilities or stuff as far as all that
think
goes?
of her as the owner and me as the business manager, because I spent many years as an executive consultant. So she was my boss. So we would discuss things, but she had the final say.
Stephen explained that as their business flourished, so did their relationship. However, by 2018, their relationship started to face challenges.
I confronted her with some changes in her behavior.
Like what happened to me?
Well, when we first started dating, she gave me access to, she gave me her sign-on credentials for her United account. This is just as an example, because there was numerous little things like this. And then she, at one point, just for seemingly no reason, she, changed her password and wouldn't tell me what the new password was, which was okay.
Right.
But that, along with other little things, just sort of indicated to me that she had something going on. Okay.
Stephen was already aware that Ildiko was married, but as the relationship fell apart, he learned that she...
All right, so far with the information that I'm getting, my biggest suspect is no longer the husband. My biggest suspect is the business partner. And the simple fact that he willingly came in to talk to the investigators, thinking that if he tells them the dynamics of their relationship, the little changes that he's seen about her before the explosion, he thought that was a way that he can pretty much eliminate himself as being a suspect. But he doesn't realize that made him even more of a suspect, because if you're no longer dating this woman, and when you was dating this woman, you had access to her United account, why wouldn't she remove access to her United account if she's no longer in a relationship with you anymore? You probably had access to buy extra things or buy something that her husband wouldn't be able to have access to. So if you needed something or something personal, you could utilize that account. Once y'all became strictly business partners and no longer actual intimate partners, of course she's going to remove that access, because now it's only just business. It's not nothing intimate. And the reason why he's bringing it up and letting them know those minor changes of what happened when you were intimate, and how when y'all not intimate anymore and y'all strictly business partners, you no longer have access to certain things, it kind of make you look guilty. It doesn't give the type of feeling that you thought that you was going to get. But let's go on. I could be wrong.
She was juggling other secret boyfriends as well.
So I just talked to her about that, and she admitted that she was going up to Sacramento to see another man.
Yeah, she came clean about it.
And the issue was, for me, why are you trying to hide it?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if she had come to me and said, I really think that I want to open up our relationship a little bit. I don't want to be exclusive. I want to, date other men. I would have said, okay, that's fine. We'll do that.
While Stephen's demeanor is calm as he is reflecting on his relationship with Ildiko, it was obvious that he had felt betrayed by her actions. The question became, was this betrayal the motive for killing her? He also had the skills needed to build a destructive device, which he makes clear when he's asked about his experience with explosives.
A friend of mine and I, we would build model rockets. And I started this years ago when my kids were little, and it got to be almost an obsession. And so, we built a 25-foot tall, 50-diameter, 4-stage rocket.
It turned out that Stephen's favorite hobby was building and launching large-scale model rockets. And in his toolbox was several chemicals that could be used to create the bomb in question.
Hey,
So let's say, for example,
welcome back. Good
when
to see
they
you.
do their
Happy New
analysis
Year.
of chemicals found there, chemicals found in your home, would it just be a coincidence if it's the same?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I don't remember what chemicals are around in the house, because I haven't taken them down. I haven't looked at them. I haven't thought of them. I didn't even know where they were.
Right.
In many, many years.
Would someone with your type of experience be able to convert that into something on a bigger scale?
I saw the devastation, in the pictures and news reports.
Hi, Kai. It's nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. You said, come to Germany, you will marry me? Okay, I'll come to Germany.
That would cause something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you would go about doing that. That looks like a C4 sort of explosion or something, I mean, like some sort of very high explosive. I don't know what they did.
Despite his attempt to negate the chemical evidence, Stephen himself admits that he could have the means to commit this crime.
Your whole deal is, means, motive, and opportunity. And I don't know I don't know anybody that has the motive.
Okay, what about the means?
See, he thinks he's so smart because he used to build rocket ships, and when he was younger, he thinks that he's smarter than these individuals because he knows chemicals and he knows compounds and he knows how to explode things. He knows how to make things fly. But he doesn't really realize that all this overindulging and telling all this information to the cops is only making you look worse. It's not making you look better, because you're letting them know that you have the mindset and the brain to actually create that bomb that went off in that spot. You also have the ingredients, the same exact ingredients that could have been possibly used to create that bomb. Then on top of that, they understood that you were jealous that the woman wanted to basically see other people and not only just be monogamous with you, even though she's a cheating wife. But the simple fact that you're even jealous that the wife that you're cheating with wants to date other people, sir, you provided intent, motive, and opportunity, which he's actually speaking right now to the detective saying, well, I don't know who would else have intent or opportunity or motive. Yeah, he did not think this through, Lana. He really didn't. He really did not think this through. He literally is giving everything to the detectives, the motive, the intent, and the opportunity. He has more opportunity than anyone to set off an explosive, and he knows her schedule. He knows when she's coming in to put that bomb. You have intent to do that because you can be a bitter side dude, right? You could be a bitter side dude. So there goes that motive, right? That she wanted to see other people and she was hiding it from you. And then the intent is you want to have access to other things in the business that she took away from you, since you don't have that intimate relationship anymore. But I mean, let's go on.
I don't know what's in my garage. I don't know what chemicals they found. So I suppose I could probably fall into that category if the chemicals are right. I mean, I don't know. But if they're taking the chemicals out, I would appreciate that they look at them, for like how much dust is on them. Because, if it's 8 years worth of dust accumulation on there, it would show up.
If this interview wasn't suspicious enough already, Stephen also mentioned a conversation with his new girlfriend Valerie, where they discussed writing stand-up comedy about the attack.
Valerie looked at me, I think yesterday, and we were talking about, like life goal. Immediate life goal right now is to get to the point where we look at this particular set of events and can joke about it because we think it's funny, because it's not. Mm-hmm. And then she said, you need to do a stand-up comedy routine about it. Because there's a lot of really, potentially humorous anecdotes that are just wrapped up in the most intense life situations.
Yeah.
And, if the audience can relate to what you're going through and it's delivered in a, humorous manner, you're going to win. People love to be entertained.
If you're wondering what could possibly be humorous about someone dying in such a gruesome way, you're not alone. Stephen's willingness to use this tragic event as part of his stand-up routine was only one of many red flags. He had also made a peculiar comment about how the bomb may have been triggered by Ildiko.
Going back to something you just mentioned, you talked about the size of the package that she would have had to have opened in order to have done that kind of damage. Why would you assume it was a package that she opened?
Because it's in the news reports.
Did she open a package?
It said it was a package.
Is that the only way that a package could be utilized?
I don't know. I suppose you could have a timer in there or a cell phone or something that would trigger it. It's just package for me means you open it. I mean, that's my assumption. When I get a package in the mail, I open it. other than that, I don't know.
Was this a Freudian slip from
That was definitely a Freudian slip. This is when you need to use the right to remain silent. Right? Like this is when he really needed to use the right to remain silent. But because he is so egotistical and he think that he got away with it and he's so smarter than these detectives, he feels that he can tell his everything that he did, everything he used, the ingredients that he used, everything. He thinking he could tell the whole story, and they realized that it wasn't him. That's what he really thought that he was doing. This is insane. Hi, Victoria. How you doing? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. Thank you. So, guys, anybody just coming in, thank you for coming. Happy New Year. Can you just hit the like button for me? I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's go on.
Stephen? How could he have possibly known that Ildiko had opened a package, triggering the bomb? After this interview, Stephen was free to go. Not because officers believed that he was innocent, but to continue monitoring him to gather more evidence before an arrest is made. As they monitored him, police discovered that Stephen had been on disability for about 10 years due to a condition known as aphasia, which causes memory loss, reading difficulties, and communication challenges. Curious about his condition, detectives attended one of Stephen's plays to observe him in action. To their surprise, his performance showed a man who did not appear to struggle with any of the outlined symptoms.
Good enough. How many more people are going to have to die before you do something useful? This case is spiraling crazy out of control. When the media gets wind of Mr. Segerstrom here, there's going to be a feeding frenzy, and we're going to be at the very center of all of that national attention.
Whether Stephen had this condition or not, it became evident to the detectives.
So I'm wondering, how was he able to get a disability of having like issues with memory, like short-term memory and forgetfulness and stuff like that? But then you do plays, and plays is all about remembering lines. Like you're not even like doing like a screen, right? Like someone like a movie, right? Where you could do millions of takes, almost like 300 takes if you get something wrong. That's something different. You're actually doing screenplays, right? Like Broadway screenplays. And from what I've seen, it doesn't look like you have any disability that has something to do with short-term memory or not being able to remember things, or I guess amnesia, you know what I'm saying? Like selective amnesia. I don't see that. So that's not gonna help you, dear sir. It's definitely not gonna help you. Let's go on.
That he had a habit of bending the truth. Following his performance, investigators got a warrant to search Stephen's property. They hit the jackpot.
This was the scene at his Long Beach home where armed federal agents swarmed the street and broke down his doors. Investigators found items used to make the bomb at the scene that matched items inside Beal's car and home.
There was about 130 pounds of chemicals, along with 2 improvised explosive devices, electrical wires, and matches. Stephen claimed that it had been years since he last built a rocket, and that the chemicals found in the garage sat around unused. At this point, detectives were unable to charge Stephen with any crimes directly connected to the bombing. But as a result of the search, he was arrested by the FBI on an unrelated charge, the possession of 2 unregistered explosive devices.
Now investigators are turning their attention to the dead woman's ex-boyfriend, whose hobby involves building rockets and sending them into the sky using powerful propellants.
Neighbors say they often saw Beal building the rockets in his driveway.
He was setting off homemade rockets.
And you said that they were as tall as a person, the rockets?
Yeah, some of them were.
Only about a week after his arrest, Stephen would be a free man.
Out of jail and free, prosecutors dismissed the charge against the man arrested for a blast that killed his ex-girlfriend.
Well, federal prosecutors dropped the criminal charge against Stephen Beal.
Well, what the feds are saying is that they dropped this charge without prejudice, which means it could be refiled at a later date. There were questions about the devices seized from Stephen Beal's home and whether by law they can be defined as destructive. So Stephen Beal was set free.
Mr. Beal, any comments?
All right, where are you?
Stephen's new girlfriend Valerie picked him up from the jail once he was released, and investigators went right back to gathering evidence to charge him with the murder of Ildiko. While Stephen and Valerie were running errands the following day, they were stopped by the police, leading to an intense search of Valerie's vehicle, which involved a bomb-sniffing dog and 13 police cruisers. The police didn't find anything. Unfortunately, it would take nearly 10 months before their luck would change. In February of 2019, the detectives received the results back from the forensic lab. Within the results, there was a breakthrough. The chemicals and wiring recovered from the bomb were a direct match to those discovered in Stephen's garage. They also had a second breakthrough when they reviewed his bank transactions. They found that in the week before the explosion, Stephen had bought a cardboard box with dimensions that were identical to the box containing the bomb. That same day, Stephen was also recorded at a nearby Chase bank withdrawing cash from an ATM. Moments later, Stephen used that cash at a CVS pharmacy to buy a 9-volt battery, the exact same type of battery that was used in the explosive device. If this wasn't enough, detectives were also able to obtain Stephen's cell phone records, which indicated multiple visits to the spa during Ildiko's trip to Hungary, which gave him ample time to place the bomb on her front desk. His computer activity also revealed a borderline obsessive pattern of monitoring her social media accounts and the online scheduling app for the business. And to put the nail in the coffin, police learned that by the end of their relationship, Ildiko was afraid that Stephen would harm her. She had repeatedly expressed to her friends that she was concerned about Stephen's controlling and jealous behavior. With all of this evidence piling up against Stephen, detectives were still looking for the final piece to seal his fate in the courtroom. Most of the evidence they already had was circumstantial, so they needed something firm, like a confession. So detectives hatched a new plan involving Stephen's new fiancée, Valerie. Stephen proposed to Valerie a couple of months after he was released from jail. She said yes, and to celebrate their engagement, the two went on an expensive romantic getaway. When they returned from their trip, detectives approached Valerie behind Stephen's back and offered to pay for their trip expenses if she helped them record Stephen saying something incriminating about the attack. Since she felt that it was the morally right thing to do, she consented to having hidden recording devices installed in their hotel room and in her vehicle. Additionally, she was given a necklace with a hidden microphone.
So, oh my God, this dude, you know what's so funny? He would have gotten away with it if he didn't think that he was smarter than the detectives, right? If he wasn't so arrogant to tell everything step by step about how you made the bomb, what someone can use to detonate the bomb, his situation with the lady that passed, about her dating other men and him being ticked off about it, even though he's supposed to be in a whole different relationship. The simple fact that he was mad that he didn't have access to her United account anymore. He's the one who told on himself. The husband would have been or remained the number one suspect, but you went in there willingly and started just speaking and telling on yourself and telling everything. And now they went and did their due diligence and investigated, and they realized that not only were you going back and forth in the spa while she was in Hungary, you knew when she was going to be in Hungary, right? You're keeping tabs on her through social media posts and stuff like that. You knew her schedule when she was going to come back to the spa. Then they were catching you buying batteries and stuff like that for the bomb that you created. Then they actually forensic tested, and the same ingredient compounds that you used to make the bomb is literally in your garage. Like, this is when acting too smart for your own good gets you in a whole lot of trouble. Whole lot of trouble. Yes, they don't know how to be quiet, but to see that is the arrogant in some people, right? When they're so arrogant about, oh, I'm just smarter than everyone and I got everything figured out and I'm going to play mind games, because that's what actually, gets them going, is the mind game, right? Of playing that mental chess with another person and being the one who succeed in it. That's what it gets them going, pretty much. Hey, Desal, how you doing? How you doing? All right, let's go on. Let's see what he's going to try to get out of, how he's going to try to get out of this.
Unfortunately, this didn't work, as Stephen did not feed into any of Valerie's attempts to gather information. Despite this failed plan, authorities felt that they had substantial evidence linking Stephen to the death of Ildiko. On Sunday, March 4th, 2019, Stephen was arrested and charged with the destruction of a building and first-degree murder. He was held in jail without bond.
This is the second time the man who lives in that home has been arrested in connection with the explosion that killed his ex-girlfriend. Federal agents arrived at the home in this residential neighborhood earlier today. Authorities say they have arrested Stephen Beal. Now, officers and investigators have been here at the scene for several hours conducting an extensive search of the home. His arrest is connected to that deadly explosion. So once again, Stephen Beal has been taken into custody. And again, authorities have been out here for several hours searching his home. And from what they tell us, that search is going to continue for quite some time.
Although there was a mountain of compelling evidence pointing towards him, Stephen continued to maintain his innocence. His trial began in June of 2022. 4 years after the explosion. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence of Stephen's means, motive, and opportunity to commit the crime, portraying him as a jealous lover who couldn't tolerate Ildiko being with another man. They asserted that Stephen used materials from his home to make the bomb, and forensic analysis confirmed that the chemical residue at the crime scene matched the substances in Stephen's garage. Furthermore, his Google history included a search that said, "Narcissist deceiving a polygraph test." They also emphasized that Ildiko was not the only victim, as 2 other people also suffered debilitating injuries from the blast. Stephen Beal's defense team hounded the prosecutors for being more intent on proving Stephen's guilt than on identifying the actual perpetrator. The defense also presented text messages between Stephen and Ildiko, in which Ildiko expressed her desire to be with him again. These were used to demonstrate that the two remained close even after their breakup, and that Stephen was not jealous enough to want her dead. The defense argued that other individuals in Ildiko's life, such as Elizabeth Papp, Gabor's scorned wife, could have had a...
Now, I knew that the defense was going to use that route. They was going to use the route that she had 2 other lovers in the same year time span as when she was actually dealing with this guy. So keep in mind, this lady was already married. Okay, she was married. She was messing with 3 men in the course of 2 years. 3 men. And one of them was her business partner, the guy who's now the main suspect. I knew that it was going to use the fact that she, since she was dating other guys, this could have been a revenge attack from the other guys being jealous, or the other guys' wives realizing the infidelity and want to take revenge in that way. That's the only route that they could possibly go with this individual. They can't go anywhere else with him because all the other evidence they have on him is too damaging, especially since the materials match the material that was used in that bomb. See, what a lot of people don't understand is there's a particular type of batch, right, of certain type of ingredients. And this is why the batches of ingredients that you get, they have a serial number. Right? So whatever isn't contained in that, everything in that has the same type of substance, the same type of volume level, wherever. So when they go to take it to forensic and they test what's in his home and then test what's in the that was at the actual bomb, like the residue, right? It's going to match. It's going to match to know that this was actually created from the same batch at the same exact time, right? And a lot of people don't understand that because they think, oh, if I could buy this container and that container, they're both the same thing, so they must be the same. They must be the same thing. No, most containers, that is that batch, and that's why that container has its own identified serial number on it. It is not the same batch as the next container right next to it. That's why it has a different serial number. But let's see if the defense attorney is able to get their client out of it. I don't think that that's good enough. It's not going to work. Being the jealous husband or the other jealous side dudes, it's not going to work. It's not. Me personally. But let's go on.
A motive. After all, Elizabeth openly despised Ildiko. There was also the fact that the security cameras at the spa were not working. Given this piece of information, they suggested that Max, the building handyman, was a possible suspect that was glazed over by investigators. Another possible suspect was Ildiko's husband, Ranilo, who knew about her infidelity and therefore may have been motivated to kill her out of jealousy. The defense contended that Stephen's purchase of a 9-volt battery was normal, as Ildiko required that specific battery type for her business. And Stephen's search for information about deceiving a polygraph was explained by his recent audition to be cast as a polygraph examiner. After a grueling 7-week trial and testimonies from 66 witnesses, the jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict.
A federal jury in downtown Los Angeles couldn't agree if a man from Long Beach is guilty of using a homemade bomb to kill his ex-girlfriend by blowing up the day spa she owned in Aliso Viejo. A judge declared a mistrial and sent the jurors home.
This is a major setback for federal prosecutors who spent weeks presenting a very complicated, circumstantial case in court that they hoped would convict Stephen Beal of making that bomb. And despite showing a mountain of clues that prosecutors said linked Beal to the bombing and the murder, the defense said the case lacked direct evidence and couldn't be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. These sketches from closing argument show Beal sitting at the left.
So a mistrial is one of the worst things that any attorney, whether it's the defense attorney or the prosecutor, will want, right? Because that means that you have to go all the way back to the drawing board. You have to re-add things into discovery again and build up a better or stronger case for whatever you was leading with. It takes a lot of man work, a lot of time, a lot of effort. It can literally be pushed back almost a year or so. So most people try not to get a retrial unless it's in the benefit of, let's say, for example, the client, right? So right now, this retrial was a benefit for the suspect because now the prosecutor has to go back to the drawing board and do everything all over again, try to find new evidence from other people, probably might even have to add in the other people that they took out, like the husband, the extra side dudes that the lady had, their spouses. They're going to have to add all that into now their whole case, right? So this was a win for the actual client and the defense attorney, this retrial, because if he didn't get a retrial, he would have definitely been charged. He would have been found guilty. So this is what happens when a retrial occurs, right? It can work in your benefit or it can not work in your benefit. For this example, this worked in the benefit for the client. Okay. Now another case is if it was another murder case and a retrial was occurred for the client, it could go negative to him because that means that person will have to stay in prison for a longer time. And that's like literally sitting and waiting for your trial to actually get on the docket. And that could be almost a year. But let's go on.
There listening as prosecutors asked jurors to find him guilty of using a weapon of mass destruction to carry out the murder of spa owner Ildiko Krajnak, who was also Beal's ex-girlfriend. Earlier today, jurors told the judge in federal court downtown they were unable to reach a verdict. They were deadlocked, reportedly split 9-3. And jurors also, we should mention, sent another deadlock warning a couple of weeks ago, but they were sent back to continue deliberations. Now, at the trial, Beal's defense said the FBI made a snap judgment to prosecute Beal simply because they found those more than 100 pounds of explosive precursor chemicals in his home, said that he had the skills and knowledge on how to build bombs, and was recorded on security video buying a battery and boxes. They also said he had a plausible motive as a vengeful ex-boyfriend. But the defense said all of that was circumstantial and claimed the feds ignored other potential suspects. So now, federal prosecutors tell me they plan to retry Beal on the same charges with a new jury beginning in October.
Stephen was held behind bars until his retrial, which began 1 year later on June 29, 2023. During his second trial, prosecutors introduced the same evidence they presented in the previous trial. However, this time they also included a recreation of the explosion and compared it to the footage of the actual crime scene. The bomb used in the recreation was designed using the exact same resources that Stephen had access to. The mannequin fragments after the blast had a striking resemblance to the state of Ildiko's scattered body parts found at the scene. The graphic illustration seemed to make a significant impact on the jurors, and on July 19th of the same year, after 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury found Stephen Beal guilty of first-degree murder.
And now to breaking news. A Long Beach man is convicted in the deadly bombing of an Aliso Viejo day spa in 2018. Stephen Beal was found guilty of using a weapon of mass destruction and other charges. The blast killed his ex-girlfriend and injured 2 others inside the spa. Investigators say they later found 130 pounds of bomb-making materials inside Beal's home. He'll be sentenced in November.
On January 19th, 2024, a 64-year-old Stephen Beal was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years for possession and use of an unregistered destructive device.
Friends and family of the woman who was killed expressed relief at today's sentencing, but 64-year-old Stephen Beal maintained his innocence, insisted that the wrong person was in the courtroom, which the Orange County Sheriff called an insult to justice. At his sentencing, Stephen Beal told the judge he wished that, quote, the person who actually committed this crime was sitting here and not me. That brought a strong reaction outside the federal courthouse from Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes.
It was an insult to the criminal justice process that he did that. We have the right guy. We had the right guy all along.
The end result is what matters, and to get an end result that will actually stick. That's what we have here. U.S. Attorney Martina Strada credited the conviction to a more streamlined second trial.
Mr. Beal was finally brought to justice and is off the streets and can no longer hurt anybody else.
He is currently serving his sentence at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that I thought he was guilty from the start. Once he started going in there and telling everything, and then he was giving them step by step how you do it, how you make it, how you detonate it, what you can use, a timer or a clock or battery. And then he went in there to specifically talk about how his business partner is dating other people, and then he didn't feel that, you know, she was acting different and strange. He wasn't able to get access to her accounts anymore. She changed her passwords, and him expressing himself that he was angry about that, but they're supposed to be over their intimate relationship and business partners. That was a telltale sign to me that, yeah, dude, you the one who did it. You the one who did it. You was spiteful, and on top of that, not only just being a bitter side dude, right? Because you're not even her husband. Not only being a bitter side dude, you wanted the business, right? You wanted the business. You didn't want to be in business with her anymore. And you definitely didn't want to split it down the middle, or have to go into, getting lawyers and attorneys, how y'all going to split up the business. So you proved all the 3 points that you need. You need motive, you need intent, and you need opportunity, and you had all 3. So that was a weird case to go through. All right, so the next one is, sometimes what you post on Facebook can lead to horrible situations or someone being harmed. And there was a situation where a post was posted on Facebook, and it has some horrible consequences and circumstances that happen with it. So we're going to look at this one. All right, and here we go.
Sheriff's Office K9. If anybody's inside, speak out now, you will get bit. You didn't see anybody run through here at all? No running, nobody running through here?
The footage you are watching was captured during a manhunt for an active shooter. While the manhunt was ongoing, residents and business owners in the area were told to stay inside and lock their doors, and local schools entered a state of lockdown.
Sheriff's Office, anybody in here, come out right now. And I'll send him in, buddy.
The cause for this manhunt was a shooting that occurred just moments earlier in a quiet neighborhood in Sodus, New York. When police interviewed the resident who lived directly next door to the shooting, they were able to gain insight into the moments leading up to the call. As Tiffany Thayer was grabbing some gummy bears for her 2-year-old, Tiffany took a peek out of her kitchen window and saw her neighbor Josh Niles leaning against his truck. He was having a fervent conversation with someone Tiffany was unfamiliar with. In this exact moment, Josh's girlfriend Amber Washburn was pulling into the driveway. As Tiffany reached for the gummy bears, she heard loud gunshots. That jolted her back to the kitchen window. Now Josh was gripping his chest and falling to the ground, while Amber put her vehicle in reverse as an attempt to escape the shooter. However, as Amber passed the shooter, he turned and shot her directly in the head, killing her instantly. The car, which was no longer being operated, but was still in reverse, ended up in another neighbor's driveway across the street. As this happened, Josh was injured but still alive. Tiffany could hear him calling out in anguish as he watched Amber be executed. This was followed by more gunshots. Then, silence. The end result.
Oh, that's horrible. Leave it to New York for someone to do a hit in broad daylight. New Yorkers do not be caring. They really don't. Whew.
It was a gruesome crime scene. The most shocking discovery that police made upon arrival was in the backseat of that same vehicle. Amber and Josh's 4-year-old son, alive, but seemingly in a state of shock as he held on tight to his 4-piece chicken nuggets. As the manhunt continued, multiple witnesses let the police know that they had seen the shooter sprint away through backyards. He was wearing a black sweatshirt and a green hat. The manhunt pushed through the night, but to no avail. The little success that they did have was in finding some potential evidence. A black Under Armour ski mask, which was taken to the lab for analysis. Video recordings from home surveillance systems were obtained, which made that mask all the more relevant. These snapshots displayed a masked figure roaming the streets just moments before the shooting. Not only did this person match the description that witnesses gave, but they were also headed in the direction of Josh and Amber's home. The question became more relevant than ever. Who could have done this, and why?
It has been 2 days since someone shot and killed a young Sodus couple, and no one's been arrested.
Investigators say the shooter intentionally targeted 28-year-old Joshua Niles and 24-year-old Amber Washburn, but they did not say why. Tonight, friends gathered outside their home to mourn. Ashley Edlund was there.
Tonight, these candles and flowers line the sidewalk in front of Josh and Amber's home. Friends, family, and neighbors brought them out tonight to honor their memories.
Whoever did it has now made it to where my kids grow up with that.
Welcome back, Jessica.
And that's nothing.
Yeah, I do think they're both cheap.
It's not something that you ever want to find out. The most I have to say to y'all is justice needs to be served. My kids need that closure.
This is Charlene Childers. About a decade earlier, Josh and Charlene had 2 children, Gabby and Bentley Niles. When detectives spoke with Charlene over the phone, she seemed to have a slew of complaints about Josh's behavior during their past relationship, including that he would sometimes have violent outbursts. These violent outbursts led to Charlene frequently calling 911, and after Charlene accused Josh of trying to choke her, Josh was arrested and charged with unlawful imprisonment. He ultimately pled guilty to these charges. The constant discourse between the two resulted in a separation, and they were forced to reach a custody agreement. The agreement allowed Josh to take care of the children during the summer months. As Josh moved on to his new girlfriend Amber, Charlene had met and married a man named Tim Dean. The two had worked together at the Dumas, Texas Police Department. Charlene as an animal control officer, and Tim as a sergeant. This was before he began working as the chief of police for Sunray Police Department. Tim also had his own 3-year-old daughter from a previous marriage who lived with him and Charlene at the time. Soon after their wedding, Tim's charming qualities were overshadowed by a darker side. His ill behavior came to a climax when he physically abused his daughter, slapping her in the face. Little did he know, Charlene had recorded this incident and posted it on Facebook. Charlene's friends quickly notified the police, and an investigation was launched. A few days later, Dean was charged with felony child abuse, and when Josh found out that his children were living under the same roof as a child abuser, he immediately filed for custody. This was quickly granted, and Charlene was no longer allowed to watch over her children. At this point, Charlene made the decision to divorce Tim in order to regain joint custody of her children. This happened just months before the shooting. The tension between Josh, Charlene, and Tim stood out to the investigators, and they now believed that they had their two main persons of interest. Phone records made Charlene easy to rule out, since her first phone call with detectives placed her in Texas immediately after the shooting. This was about 1,600 miles and a 24-hour drive away. That brings us to Tim. Theoretically, it would make more sense for Tim to be the shooter. Charlene was leaving him to regain custody of her children. But if Josh and Amber were dead, the court may have had no choice but to give them back to Charlene, potentially saving the marriage. However, in order to substantiate this theory, it was crucial for the investigators to figure out Tim's whereabouts leading up to the murders. After obtaining a warrant for Tim's phone records, they discovered that 2 days before the murders, he
Okay, so this is some real triangle stuff, right? But it does make sense, this particular theory, right? She had gotten her kids taken away because she made the post to show that her husband, Tim, smacked his daughter in the face inappropriately, and she showed the recording on Facebook. When her ex-husband, the one of the victims who lost their lives, when he noticed that's who his two kids is in the house with, someone who can hurt children, that's when he petitioned to get his kids full custody. She didn't like that, right? She couldn't have her kids no longer under that house because she was still legally married to Tim and probably still trying to work on that relationship. And he has the right as the parent to be like, no, if he could do that to his own daughter, what makes you think he won't do that to my kids? And I don't want my kids under that household. But I do believe that this theory does work because he's upset with Charlene. However, he still wants to reconcile with her, right? And keep his family together. She's upset because she no longer has her children from the prior situation. And to make this all go away is if you just get rid of the father and then the girlfriend, right? Because she's not married to him yet. But if you get rid of both of them, now the kids automatically has to go to the next of kin, which would be her, the mom. So then she's right back in the same situation where she has her kids and she could also keep being married to Tim and working on that relationship. So that theory is not far-fetched at all. But let's go on.
He was not home in Texas, but he had actually placed a 911 call 400 miles away in Emporia, Kansas. The reason for the call was that Tim had wrecked his car and was sitting in a ditch on the side of a country road. What you are about to see is the body cam footage from this incident, recorded by Deputy Corey Nicolette of the Lyon County's Sheriff's Office.
What happened? Well, try to turn around. Okay, got your license and paperwork for this thing?
It's a gun rental car.
Mm-hmm. Got your rental agreement? Yeah. You want to jump in here with me real quick? Okay, jump in the front passenger seat.
Tim proceeded to tell the officer that he had attempted and failed a U-turn while looking for a gas station, which only resulted in getting stuck.
And you tried to turn around?
I tried to turn around right here and it...
So you just made a big flip around?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really do that around here. As you see why.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I was just driving. My whole life has kind of gone lately. More or less living out of my car.
But you had money to get a rental?
Yeah, I still work. Just off this weekend.
You didn't want to take your car?
My car, the starter's acting up on it.
Oh. So you're just driving around Kansas from Texas, huh?
Yeah.
So where's your wife?
She's at home.
I thought you said you didn't have a home.
Well, we're going to have a pending divorce and all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's mine.
Pending divorce, huh? Is that why you're out driving around instead of at home?
Yes, sir.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, like I said, it's all gone.
So where are you going to go?
Well, I've got a family friend that I was gonna go see, but...
422. Where's that at?
That's all the way up in New York.
Who's Bowler Brown?
He's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, that's gonna cause you more problems than anything.
I know. So he rented the car for you? Yeah, because I was stuck at work. I wasn't going to make it in time. I'm not looking forward to that phone call.
He'd have had a better day had it been normal.
The agencies involved in Josh and Amber's case were able to obtain this footage from Deputy Nicolette's body cam, but they still weren't done building their timeline. Now part of the investigation, Nicolette backtracked to where Tim had gone after the encounter on the side of the road, K&S East Side Service Center. The crew there had helped Tim unload his belongings from the wrecked rental car and were willing to give their perspective to the police.
Thanks for coming in on your day off. You're welcome. Appreciate it.
That is that video is very incriminating, right? Because he's literally driving from Texas to Kansas. That rental car only made it to Kansas before it started to give out, right? We don't know how much mileage it had on it. We don't know the last time it had a tune-up. We don't know when the last time the alternator been changed or they fixed the starter. We don't know. But he told him that he's going to New York. Who do you know in New York? He said, "Oh, I have a friend in New York." That is very important information, because if you was heading towards New York around the same time that shooting occurred, or it was like a day, you only needed one more day or a day and a half to get to New York from Kansas, that can definitely give you motive, right? Motive, and we already have intent. So now it's just the opportunity. Like I said, motive, intent, opportunity. But we already have intent, and we also have motive. So let's see what else they have to say about the rental car and in this situation. Oh, before I go, let's see. Jessica Schumann said 80s, 90s, early 2000 talk show and episodes that you remember and your thoughts on it. I like The Different World, Family Matters, Golden Girls. I used to watch so many different shows, and I think that the shows back then were better than the shows today. That's my honest opinion. I can literally watch Blossom and Boy Meets World. I could watch it like it was just a regular day. Roseanne, let's go.
The tote, when I opened it up, it was magazines with ammo and a
big magazines or little magazines?
Big ones. A AR style, like miniature rifle. That's when I saw the shotgun under the tote, grabbed the shotgun, and I saw a sport vest. And,
with pouches or something?
I don't remember if there was pouches, but it was all black.
Did he come in the shop?
Yeah.
We should have video of him in the shop.
Yep, Sally.
We got camera right there.
When Tim was done unloading his arsenal from the rental car, he then called an Uber. The police then also followed up with the driver at her day job.
You know, he warned me. He goes, "It's a shotgun. Is that a problem?" I said, "Is it loaded?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, then that's fine." I don't, I'm not scared of guns.
And that's the last you saw him was at Motel 6?
The last I saw him.
Okay.
She then dropped Tim off at a local Motel 6. Deputy Nicolette presumed Tim had rented another car after staying the night at the Motel 6, so he went to the local enterprise to chat with the employees there.
So you know who I'm talking about?
I have an idea, yeah. He walked in, and then I told him that he couldn't rent because he just had cash on him. And he was really upset about that, and he just left.
While Tim wasn't successful with this rental car agency, that didn't stop him from going to others nearby. He was somehow able to rent a car from the airport, and the vehicle he borrowed can be seen in these surveillance photos headed in the direction of upstate New York. At this point, law enforcement was satisfied with the amount of evidence that they had against Tim, and so they finally decided to confront him and arrest him. They placed explosives on his front door and blew it away. Tim soon came walking out with his hands up and was apprehended. They brought Tim down to the station for questioning.
Yeah, collar should be food and water too.
The first thing that they wanted to know was how well Tim knew Josh and Amber.
Had you ever met him in person?
I'd been there when he'd come to get the kids.
How did she react to losing custody?
Obviously not well.
Like anybody else? Yeah.
I mean, she's never not had the kid.
She blame you?
Probably.
Do you think you'd get her kids, help you get her back?
I know there's no getting her back. There hasn't been.
I mean, in your mind, is that a possibility? You thought maybe this would help get her back in your depressed state and stuff? I mean,
it's done. It's been done. There's no getting her back. I accepted that. That's why I've been in a state of mind.
Is it true you hated Josh?
I never even met the man.
They then revealed to Tim that they knew he had driven to upstate New York around the time of the murders, but the detectives just wanted the truth about why.
I was originally going to go see her uncle. See if I could talk to him and get him to talk some sense into her and maybe get her to ride this thing out with me.
So where were you gonna go?
Well, I've got a family friend that I was gonna go see, but
422. Where's that at?
that's all the way up in New York.
Tim explains that this was his initial plan in heading up to New York, but tells investigators that he didn't end up seeing Charlene's uncle. Instead, in his depressed state, he claimed to have just drove, slept, and drank during the entirety of his trip.
I mean, I could tell you life is hard, but my version of hard and your version of hard is two different things. I can't say my life's been that hard, but goodness, I can't sympathize with you.
If you think
Now, you could tell this individual is really depressed. We can understand that he does not want to lose his wife. And that is literally the motive. And the detectives is really on it. They nailed it when they said, did you think that by doing this and getting your wife's kids from the previous relationship back, that was going to help your marriage? He was being disingenuous by saying, no, that it's done. Because if you really said that it was done and that you know that you're not going to get her back, then why would you even go all the way up to New York to speak with her uncle to try to convince her? Like, you telling me she doesn't have no family members down in Florida? Oh, no, not Florida, Texas. Not her mother, not a father, not a brother. You have to go see the uncle up in New York to try to convince her to give your marriage another chance. He's being disingenuous. He knew from the get-go that that was his plan, right? His plan was to get rid of the other father, get the kids back to the mom because she's distressed and disheveled by not having her kids under her guidance and care. And you felt that by him being gone, it would just bring your family back together, which you truly wanted, right? That's exactly what you wanted. And you ended up killing his girlfriend up there because she's a witness. So she was just pretty much a casualty to this whole situation. It's not like you had anything against her. She didn't do anything to you or anything like that. You just said she probably couldn't identify you. So you wanted to, make sure you didn't have no witnesses. But let's go on.
I think I'm gonna sit here and say that I did that. You're crazy.
I think you're crazy if you don't, quite honestly.
Tim, it's not a question if you did it.
It's a question of why, and are you sorry? Do you think these 5 different detectives from New York drove down here for no reason?
Got no idea why the FBI is here.
What happens when you drive to commit a crime?
I didn't drive to commit a crime.
Hey, you're not a monster, man. You have up, there's no doubt about it. But there can be redemption in life, man. There really can.
Right, like don't like stop lying. You said you didn't drive to commit a crime. Yes, you did. You had all that armor and all that weapons and stuff with you. Why are you going up to New York? Why are you going up to New York with weapons and stuff? And hear me out. This is why I know he's full of crap, right? New York just now started having open carry licenses, right? For the citizens, not people who are in law enforcement. We could have always had guns, but I'm talking about civilians now can actually get guns and open carry and stuff like that. They can take the test. That just recently happened in the past 2 years. Everybody know that we have the strictest gun laws here, especially just because you have a license in Texas, or you don't need a license in Texas, you definitely need a license to come up here with a weapon, and you better be able to come in New York with that weapon, right? So why are you coming up to New York with all this ammo, all these magazines, and all this stuff like that? Like, what's the point? Are you going to go shooting with the uncle? Did you even contact the uncle and let him know that you was coming up there? That haven't even been explained. So it's like as he's not being honest with himself, but the detectives already know what it is. You can see by his mannerism that he is highly depressed right now. He's highly depressed. He's aggravated. He could be mad at, he could be mad at his wife, but mainly he was mad at the guy because he felt that the guy was the reason why she has to divorce him because she wants her kids.
What you're showing me right now is that you're a good person. And not only that, you're a good cop at sometimes, right? I mean, we all screw up in life. But there's a path to redemption and everything else, Tim. Are you sorry Amber and Josh got killed? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Are you sorry they got killed? I'm not saying you killed them. Are you sorry they got killed? Can you say their names?
Josh and Amber.
Say, I'm sorry Josh and Amber got killed. Not that you did it. No, you didn't. You're saying it in parts. You can't even, because you can't. You realize you're talking about being in Sodus and everything. I mean, that's no doubt. You're saying that, but you didn't do it. Who's going to believe that?
I didn't do what they said.
Yeah, he can't say their names. He really can't say their names. He can't say, I'm sorry that they lost their lives or they were killed, because he's the one who did it. And he's not sorry that they're gone. So he can't force himself to say it. And they're pulling his car. And this is why they're saying, hey, yeah, you don't, I'm not saying that you did it, but can you say that are you sorry that they even lost their life? He can't even say it. He's making excuses, talk about, I'm not going to play your games. What are you talking about? Like, you don't have no remorse. And that is what's being shown. You have no remorse that they even lost their life. Like, at the end of the day, your wife, her children from a previous marriage lost their father. You don't even have any remorse whatsoever. And you being a whole cop, a whole cop. That's crazy. Let's go on.
My chances, I guess.
I've never been in the presence of a bigger coward.
Unfortunately for the investigators, Tim would not confess and continued to proclaim his innocence. However, this wasn't the only person in Texas that the police wanted to talk to. This is Braun Bolar. Braun had served 11 years as a Texas cop, most recently at the Sunray Police Department after Tim had lost his job. The two were actually close friends, and when Tim wanted to drive to New York but was stuck at work, Braun picked up the rental himself and put it under his name. Following Tim's interrogation, they called Braun for his own interview.
You like policeman? Yes. Okay. Been it for 11 years.
They dove headfirst into the questions about Tim. They first asked why Braun had helped him with the rental.
His credit cards were maxed out, and he's 2 months behind. But he told me, hey, I need a vehicle for the weekend. Well, okay, not a problem.
Did you question what he's doing up in Kansas?
At first, no, because I thought he just had to go up there for a Frito-Lay. I was like, okay. I took it at face value.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, okay, hey, are you okay? That's the main thing. He goes, yeah, I'm good. But the car's pretty effed up, excuse my language. And I was like, okay, we got insurance, we'll get it fixed.
Dean never mentioned that he was going to go on a road trip, that he was going to go to New York, that he was going to go anywhere. He was just going to use that car, a rental car, locally.
Yes, sir.
So if I were to ask you, are you lying about knowing that Dean was taking that rental car to New York, what would you say?
I'd say no.
Okay. That's the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Braun said that he felt a lot of sympathy for Tim and trusted him enough to help him out with the rental without questioning his intentions. That was until the phone call came in about Tim wrecking the rental car up in Kansas. The investigators then asked Braun if he would be willing to take a polygraph test, to which he agreed. Cooperative as he was, Braun failed the polygraph miserably, and more questioning followed.
You failed that question, okay?
Braun has a decision to make, whether he wants to be a good witness or he wants to be charged in conspiracy to commit 2 murders.
You definitely don't want that.
So you're saying you overheard Dean say, what?
Ever's gonna die.
Ever's gonna die?
Mm-hmm. He's going up there to kill him.
He said he was going to go up there to kill him.
Yes, sir.
So the plan was laid in then,
yes,
that you rent the car.
It'd be beyond crazy how much these people really be trying to lie. And then when they finally come out and tell the truth, these people be knowing everything about what's going on, every little detail. One minute you were just like, oh, I was just helping a buddy. Everything was maxed out. He couldn't get a rental. And, I just wanted to sign the rental for him. So that's all I knew. I didn't even know he was going to New York. I just thought he was just going to Kansas for some business or something. And now it's to the point, yeah, you knew he was traveling up to New York to unalive this person. It's just insane to me how much these people be putting themselves in horrible situations. And now, even though they make one little threat saying that you're gonna be part of as a conspiracy to murder, you tell, and you think that you're still gonna get out of you being a conspiracy to murder. You're telling on yourself that you're literally an accomplice, especially once you say that you knew. And once you say that you knew that he was going to go do that, and then you assist on getting him a new rental to do that. But just think about the amount of time this guy can get for that. Because the I'm telling you, the prosecutors, when it gets to trial, the one thing that they're going to state now is that if this guy did the right thing and did not get the extra rental for him after he messed up the first rental, that man and that woman would be alive today. If he maxed out all his credit cards, he didn't have no available cash, so he couldn't get no rental. If you didn't go get the rental for him, those people will be alive today. That's crazy.
Not in his name, so he wouldn't get caught. I'm down. You're a very important witness, bro.
I'll walk you out here.
Braun was allowed to go home following this interview. However, the police chief for Sunray PD, his own workplace, followed him home to keep an eye on him while they obtained an arrest warrant. Once the warrant was ready, Braun was immediately detained. Law enforcement now had the alleged shooter and his accomplice detained. However, this investigation wasn't over. Detectives decided to backtrack to the one and only Charlene. While she definitely wasn't the shooter, and wasn't in New York at the time of the murders, they wanted to know whether she was involved at all. A big reason for the lingering suspicion surrounding her was during one of her phone calls with the police early on in the investigation. She stated that she learned of Josh's death through a Facebook post. The post didn't reveal the names of the victims, but Charlene knew it was Josh and Amber since a photo revealed the address and street name of the crime scene. However, this was a lie. There was no photo of Josh's house shared to the public, so it was impossible for Charlene to have found out this way. Another big reason was that while Tim's rental car was under Braun's name, Braun had told investigators that Charlene was actually the one who had driven him to the rental agency. Just 8 days after the murders, the police located Charlene at an ex-boyfriend's house and asked her to come down to the station for questioning. They started off by asking her again how she found out, to which Charlene explained the Facebook story and calling Josh's mother afterwards.
So I called his mom.
So Charlene lied, right? She said that the Facebook post, it referenced or showed the location or showed the guy's house, and it didn't. So how did you automatically know that though that was him and his girlfriend? So that rung a bell, and now she's going to try to tell the lie again. They're going to make her feel comfortable, and they're going to do the next psychological tactic, which is to say, listen, we know that you know, and the other guy, the other friend who helped with the rental, he told us that you drove him there. So you knew why he was driving there. You knew he was getting the rental car for your husband, Tim. So why are you acting like you didn't know anything is going on? And guess what she's going to do? She's going to squeal. She's definitely going to squeal once the heat is on. So let's look at it.
And she's like, Charlene, yes, what's going on? Josh is dead. I hit the floor.
Really?
What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, it still feels like a horrible bad dream.
Right.
How? Who? Why? That's what I want to know.
They then asked Charlene if Tim had any hatred towards Josh, or if there was any reason why Tim would want Josh dead.
Tim knew the stuff that Josh had done to me.
What do you mean?
Josh used to beat the hell out of me.
Oh, really?
That's fine.
But, Tim had never really spoke too bad about him, It was more of, if I could ever get into a fight with him, I would fight him.
Do you think Tim's capable of shooting somebody?
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Like, unless it was, like, on the job protecting his life.
Right, yeah.
I can't see it. He's not that type of person.
No.
Yeah, it really
Did
is
you take
nasty
somebody to
work.
go rent a vehicle?
I took a
Hi,
friend to go rent a
David.
vehicle.
Who's
How you
that?
doing? Thank you
Ron.
for joining in. Shout out
Oh,
to Ireland.
I can't say his last name.
Ron?
Ron.
Isn't that kind of unusual?
I just keep people's privacy. I mean, we talked, but we didn't talk about that.
Did you help him?
I drove up there, took him to the rental car.
Didn't tell you where he's going, what he's doing?
Nope. I don't ask questions. I don't care. Honestly, I assumed it was for work.
Okay.
Because he works for Frito-Lay now.
Okay.
So he travels all the damn time. I got there around Saturday night, I think.
Okay. How long's that?
So 5 hours for me.
Holy cow. You had to
He filled up my gas tank, so I didn't
I
care.
bet your ass you filled up the gas.
Yeah,
So
so that
you-
was like last resort. I was like, ask anybody else that you can, because I don't feel like coming up there afterwards. I don't feel like doing for you. I don't,
Yeah.
But if you're stranded, I'm not going to just be that kind of person that's like, you know what,
No, I understand. Absolutely.
Honestly,
No, that's...
And
Yeah.
it comes around.
Right. Did you have anything to do with Tim shooting Josh and Amber?
No.
Did you put Tim up to it?
No.
As you can see, Charlene is beginning to crack under the pressure. She would eventually go on to confess to her involvement in the murders. She explained to
Look at that. Look at that. She literally panicked. All the emotions rushed through because she knew that she was lying through her teeth. You do not go travel 5 to 6 hours for an estranged husband because you don't want him to be stranded. Well, he would have been stranded if you was going up there with his friend, his buddy, right? Who was going to go get it for him, right? Yeah, she's panicking right now, and now she knows that she has to tell the truth because she's in survival mode, and that's what you're seeing right now. She's in survival mode, so now it's all the distraught and I can't believe this happened, and watch
the detectives that after losing custody of her children in August, she had a conversation with Tim saying that Josh had to go, to which Tim agreed.
I wish he would just die in a ditch somewhere, because every time I turn around, he's always bad-mouthing, saying how I'm poor, blah, blah, blah. I'm done. I'm to my point. Me and Tim talked about it. Yeah. Okay? I wanted just everything to go back to how it was, where I had my kids during the school year. He had them for the summer and every other Christmas. I just wanted it to go back to normal.
I need to know what you know about the gun.
Black. I don't know what caliber. I know it used to belong to the Sunrise Police Department. Because that's one gun that he told me that he'd never give back to him.
Leading up to the murders, Tim, Charlene, and Braun would have meetings in Tim's garage where they came up with the plan to kill Josh. Charlene would drop off Braun at the rental agency, who would drive the rental to Tim. Tim would then drive to New York to murder Josh. Plain and simple. Apparently, Amber was never supposed to be killed, according to their plan. When Tim had wrecked the rental, Charlene drove all the way to meet him at the Motel 6 and drop him off at the airport to get a new rental car and resume the plan. On November 5th, 2018, Charlene and Tim were charged for the murders of Josh and Amber.
After announcing charges against Dean and Childers, Wayne County Sheriff Barry Vert said it is an assumption one could make that this double homicide was over a child custody battle, with Dean pulling the trigger.
Now, Dean was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. He's currently in Texas, but he is expected to be moved up here to face those charges. Childers is charged with conspiracy, among other charges, and is now being held in the Wayne County Jail.
Charlene ended up pleading guilty to her charges and testifying against Tim as part of a deal she had made with the prosecutor.
She says the plan.
Now, before I make commentary on it, Jessica said, taking care of babies and kids are hard, whatever, you're rich, middle class, or poor. Yes, exactly. Just taking care of kids or babies in general is hard. It doesn't matter what social class or what economical standards you are in the world. Is difficult, right? It's just that those economical standards can take away from the children, right? That's pretty much what I can answer with that. But in this situation, I knew that she was going to find a way how to lower her time and to make sure that the guy, Tim, and everything was going to be the ones who's going to get the higher charge. She's going to do, I knew that she was going to do whatever she had to do to, to survive, right? Because she went straight into survive mode. So she took the deal and she ratted out on them so she can get a lesser time. So let's see what else is going to happen. I want to see how the defense attorney is going to play all this out for our suspects.
Plan included stealing a gun from the Sunray Police Department in Texas, where Dean served as a police chief. Prosecutors say Dean then traveled back to New York State to commit the murder. When asked about Niles' death and the custody battle, Childers testified, quote, "I got what I wanted."
The jury has found Timothy Dean, the Texas police chief charged in the double murder in Sodus, guilty of 2 counts of murder.
The man who killed 2 people in Wayne County last year will spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge told Timothy Dean he will die there.
Mr. Dean, you are certainly a classic psychopath. You've never shown one bit of emotion in this courtroom, not once of guilt or remorse. I really wonder what goes on in your head. If you have any sense of a conscience, you have to be haunted by what you've done.
The mother of Joshua Niles spoke emotionally to Bron Bolar in court, saying he had enough time to stop the suspects from committing the murder.
You had plenty of time to stop them. You were a police officer.
See, what did I tell you? He did all that and he thought that he was going to get a lesser crime. He's not, because like I said, if he didn't go and get that rental car for that guy, those 2 individuals would have still been alive. And I knew that the prosecutor was going to lead with that when it came down to sentencing for him.
You were supposed to protect and serve.
Amber Washburn's parents also stood in front of Bolar but were too emotional to address him. The prosecutor read a letter on their behalf.
You destroyed several people's lives. Gabriella Niles, Bentley Niles, and Joshua Niles Jr. all lost their father. And Joshua Jr. also lost his mother as well.
Bolar was charged and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder after investigators say he helped Timothy Dean rent a car which he used to drive from Texas to Sodus to kill the couple.
Charlene Childers got 28 years in prison for her part in the murder of her children's father and his girlfriend.
Just want to say, Ms. Childers, I've had a lot of murder trials, and every murder is senseless and tragic, but it has to be the most senseless and tragic murder I've ever handled.
When all was said and done, Bron Bolar spent 1 year and 4 months in prison before being released. Timothy Dean was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and Charlene Childers was sentenced to 28 years in prison.
That was so heartbreaking. That was so heartbreaking. Like, is it that serious, guys? Is it really that serious? Like, your husband was abusive, right? He was abusive. He abused his own daughter in your face. It was in that other father's right to remove his child in an environment that they can potentially get abused by this man. So why take your anger and frustration out on him? He was doing what he's supposed to do as a good parent, as a good father, to take care and worry about the well-beings of his kids. So to take your frustration out on him because you decided to keep your kids in a relationship where they can get abused and not do it yourself. You want to unalive him. And then you mastermind the whole situation, knowing that Tim wanted to stay in the relationship with you, having that on his record that he abused his child because you the one who published it to Facebook when it was a benefit for you. And that's how your other baby father found that information to go get his kids out. It was all because of you, ma'am. Maybe if you would have kept your personal information offline, then you could have had a different route, had a one-on-one conversation, and did what you had to do offline. And before your son's father realized what was actually going on in your household and making that decision. But you didn't do that because you wanted to use social media to badmouth the guy that you're with and the guy that you had a kid with and how he abused and hit his daughter. You want to use social media. You wanted to get all the attention and everybody be like, oh, I can't believe it. Yeah. Oh, I feel sorry for you, whatever not. That's how all this transpired. I hope that everybody can look at the situation and realize, keep your personal information offline. Do whatever you have to do in the courts, get the police involved, get the paperwork done, but keep it offline because you don't know how people are going to react when certain things about their personal life is online. They didn't ask for it to be online. We do not know people's state of mind. A lot of people are depressed out here. A lot of people are functional depressed, meaning they can get up, go to work 8 hours, 9 hours, and literally through the whole entire time, 24 hours, they've been thinking about hurting themselves or hurting others, or or thinking about what's the point, why am I even doing this? You know what I'm saying? There are functional depressed individuals out here. Some take to drugs, narcotics, some takes to drinking, some takes to other activities. You don't know. Keep your stuff offline, please, people. Just really do. Keep your stuff offline. It will be better for everybody that's involved. Seriously. All right. So last but not least, I have another video for you guys, and just make sure you're hitting the like button and while you're coming in, or if you're just stopping by to say hi. It really does help the channel, and I truly, truly do appreciate it. So the next one is when we have two dumb killers in one video that pretty much mess up their whole entire plan because they're not paying attention. They're not doing their due diligence. They're being messy, and we're going to review that. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go.
On September 30th, 2021, at 1:09 p.m., a 911 call was received by the Madison Township Police Department reporting a fire.
Yeah, I need a firefighter here. I got a fire in my house.
You have a fire?
Yes, I need a fire.
Strangely, for about 45 seconds, the caller withheld the fact that his wife was still inside the house.
Is everybody out of the house?
No. I think I just grabbed the kids out. I couldn't go in. I tried to get in now. I can't control it.
Within minutes, first responders arrived on the scene at 3532 No Bixby Road, 15 miles from Columbus, Ohio. They immediately extinguished the fire, but unfortunately, it was too late. The fire was fatal. The body cam footage that you are currently watching was recorded by Commander Victor Boyd.
Frank 120727
Okay.
Upon Boyd's arrival, he approached the fire chief, who had been speaking to the homeowner moments before.
So what we got here?
He was home. He got the kids out.
As you can see, the homeowner appears to be cool, calm, and collected as he waits by his vehicle. But contrary to his demeanor, this was no small fire. At the time of the call, his basement bedroom was nothing short of an inferno, with all of the valuables inside being burnt to a crisp. This sparks the question, why is he so calm, especially when he knows that his wife was trapped inside?
It sounds like from him, she must have been babysitting the two kids and he was gone.
And he just happened to come home and
he just came home and opened the door and it was full of smoke. Kids were still in there playing around on the floor and he got them out, but couldn't go back in for her.
Do you have any idea, is she alive when this?
It's hard to tell.
Okay.
I can't believe that. I don't know.
Commander Boyd decided to take a look at the aftermath himself. The fire was surprisingly contained, with only one room being severely damaged, while the rest of the house was essentially untouched. The exact cause of the fire was unknown at the time, but it was clear that an accelerant was used to cause such concentrated intensity. The victim was found lying in the middle of the room, burnt beyond recognition. On her neck was a USB cord, and underneath her was a burnt bottle of charcoal lighter fluid.
3532, no Bigsby. We've got a house.
Okay, so the information that we just got right now is quite disturbing. Apparently, it seems like the victim was strangled or was unalived prior to the house actually being set on fire. They said that they seen that it was something that ignited it. So it wasn't just like a electrical fire. It wasn't like a gas leak or anything of that sort. This was something that was intentional. The husband miraculously just had a feeling and knew to come home at the right time, where he was able to get his children out before they suffered from smoke, from the smoke, right? Inhaling that type of smoke, and also getting burnt up as well. But he didn't even think about going back to go get the wife or to see if the wife was alive, right? So that is alarming. That's going to raise flags for any police officer who comes on the scene. Even the fire department, they said that when they spoke to him, he seemed too calm about everything in his house going to flames and not even knowing the whereabouts of his wife or what happened. So let's go on.
A structure fire, and we've got a body on the inside.
And there's a body inside there.
That is correct. They're saying this fire was in the room that this body is found in.
With the evidence pointing toward foul play, Commander Boyd decided to question the homeowner himself. This is 41-year-old Mamadou Aliou Diallo. At this point, he is fully aware that his wife had died in the fire. Yet again, he appears to be completely calm. Everybody grieves differently, so this could be a natural response or even a state of shock. Whatever it is, Mamadou's body language immediately attracts attention. He gave Boyd a rundown of how he discovered the fire. According to Mamadou, he had just returned home from the mechanic. Upon entering his home, he was met with a wall of smoke, followed by excessive heat. Without hesitation, he rescued the children before calling 911.
The female in there to you is who?
It's my wife.
Hey, well, what is your wife's name?
Fatoumata Diallo.
Spell the first
F-A.
F-A-T-A.
As you just heard, Mamadou's wife is 32-year-old Fatoumata Diallo. The two moved from Guinea to the United States back in 2013. They got married right after they arrived, and together they had 2 children. At the time of this incident, the children were ages 2 and 3. Mamadou also had full custody of 3 older children from a past relationship. They all lived in the same household, but the eldest children weren't home at the time of the fire.
The female who's in here, you said she's your wife?
It's my wife, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you had said.
Kids.
Not only was Mamadou seemingly unfazed by his wife's tragic death, he also displayed an interest in leaving the crime scene, claiming that his kids were hungry and needed to eat.
The restaurant here, they eat African food. The kids, they're hungry.
Right now, sir, I understand they're hungry, but you just can't leave. Okay? Just hold tight.
However, Boyd kept pushing for information, trying to build a timeline leading up to the 911 call.
Can you see on your recents what time you called 911?
Right here. 109.
109? You got home here at about 1309?
Something like that, yes.
Before you came here and stopped, where were you making a run, making a delivery?
No, I went to the shop.
Mamadou explained that he left his house early in the morning to have his truck serviced at a shop in Medina, about an hour away from his home in Madison.
And do you have any idea, sir, off the top of your head, what time you would have been at Medina?
8:30.
8:30?
Yeah.
And then from there, you say you went to the...
Okay, so yeah, I know people grieve in different ways, right? Some are the stoic type, others are the more emotional type, right? Tears and stuff. But I'm sorry, he is just too calm and collective to know that his whole house went up in flame and his wife is in there. Then he goes and he rescues his kids. And he's more focused about like, oh, well, I'm just want to take him down the street to go get something to eat. Like he's acting like this is just a routine, health check, at the house. He's not even acting like, oh my God, I lost my wife and I lost all my valuables in my house, and my children could have possibly lost their lives if I got there in time. And then another thing that's making me question him, and I'm looking at him very suspicious as well, is why would you go to the shop that's like an hour away? You telling me that there's no shop that is at least like 25, maybe 30 minutes away from the house? Why are you going to a shop that's literally an hour away from where you live? Right? I mean, most people don't do that, right? If you want to go to a shop, you usually go to your local shop that you know that you can get in, get out. It's not that far from the house, right? Especially if it's something going on with your car. Let's say, for example, the transmitter or something like that, the alternator or something like that. You need a quick someone to do it within like an hour or so. You traveled early in the morning and got there by 8:30 in the morning to a shop that's an hour away from your house. It just seems like you was trying to space it out where you had long time before you had to actually travel back home so you can get there in a nit of time. That's what it looks like to me. I can be wrong, but let's go on.
Volvo dealer.
They fixed my ABS sensor on the foot.
You were at the Volvo around 11?
Yeah, that's what, around 11, yeah.
Mamadou's calm demeanor throughout the questioning immediately unsettled Commander Boyd. Why wasn't Mamadou more distraught, considering his circumstances? At this point, Officer Brandy Krantz joined the investigation. When she arrived at the scene, she realized that she had been to this house before. She had responded to several calls of domestic violence at this particular address in the past.
I got a lot of information to feed you.
Okay?
Yeah.
This led to the detectives reviewing records on the Diallo residence. It turns out that Mamadou was previously charged with domestic violence in 2018 after Fatoumata filed a police report claiming that he had strangled her.
We pulled the history up at this house. We have some pretty bad domestics here.
Have you?
Yeah.
Mamadou quickly became the prime suspect, and police believed that they had enough evidence to justify an arrest. On October 1st, 2021, one day after the fire, Mamadou was arrested and charged with murder.
Why he's doing this?
Police said you're riding in his car. Have a seat. Thank you.
After being escorted to the station for questioning,
Yeah, he seems very, very guilty to me. He had more emotions about him getting arrested the next day than the whole questioning about his wife. Then the whole criminal record of domestic violence between him and his wife, and it seems like he has strangled her more than once. And then for them to find that body in the midst of that fire after they doused them out, saying that that body had a cord under them or around the neck in the middle of the living room. This is quite disturbing. But let's go on. Let's see what they do when it comes down to interrogation. So far, he is my main suspect as well.
Mamadou experienced one of the most intense interrogations found in the true crime dossier.
You want to talk to us about this incident tonight?
If I call my lawyer, that will be maybe much better.
Jokes aside, with no help from Mamadou, authorities proceeded to build their case. When speaking with Mamadou's eldest daughter, she had some revealing details to share.
My father is abusive, that whole multiple times. I mean, he used to get weapons all the time. It would be like a board and like a belt sometimes.
Okay, when we say it board, what are we talking about?
Like a phone charger.
Investigators now had multiple sources citing physical abuse in the household, including Mamadou's criminal record and a personal anecdote from his own daughter. It was apparent that Mamadou had little regard for his wife's well-being, and when Fatoumata's autopsy report came back, it seemed that Mamadou had escalated from abuse to murder. Fatoumata's lungs and airways showed very little signs of black discoloration, and her carbon monoxide levels were not highly elevated, suggesting that she was not breathing during the fire.
Yeah, that's big detail. So like that's what I suspected, that they were not going to find smoke in her lungs, high levels of smoke or anything in her remains, because he strangled her before he lit the house on fire. That's exactly what happened. This is um this is some real evil mess right here.
This meant that she had died before the fire had even began. It was determined that Fatoumata's death was actually caused by ligature strangulation, the murder weapon being the USB cable found at the scene. However, based on Mamadou's given timeline, detectives couldn't prove that he was the one who committed this horrific act. That was until a search warrant was obtained for the Diallo residence and investigators were able to conduct another, more thorough search of the property. Police found that Mamadou had intentionally deactivated the camera above the front door, but forgot that the doorbell camera was still rolling. The doorbell camera showed him returning home at 12:24 p.m. Then, 44 minutes later, at 1:08 p.m., he is seen casually walking out of the house with his 2 children, while a raging fire burns his wife to death. 1 minute later, he dialed the 911 call heard at the beginning of this video.
Yeah, I need a firefighter here. I got a fire in my house.
What an evil man. What an evil man. Okay, Jessica, I'm going to read your comment and then I have to get back to the show, okay? It says low birth rates is a good thing because we don't need more people who's breaking the laws, having babies and kids, and dictators having babies and kids. I just think that I would think that low birth rates is only a good thing because we should want people who really want children to have children, right? Who's going to do their due diligence and do the best for their children. It's unfortunate when we do have people who do not do what they're supposed to do for their children, or they harm their children, child abuse or anything of that sort, try to be petty to get or to go against the other parent because the relationship doesn't work anymore. I wish that those things didn't happen anymore. I really do. Lana says, I just knew he took her. Yeah, I knew it too. But he's so dumb, right? Because you literally see him on the door cam, on the ring cam. You see him come home at 12. So whatever he said that he was getting done at ABS, it didn't even take him that long. He had a gallon of gasoline when he was opening up the front door. And then by 1:08, he came out with the kids. So what he did was, when he told the operator saying he just got the kids and then he called 1 minute later, he had already set everything in motion. He did what he did to his wife. He literally put gasoline or whatever not all over her body, whatever not, ignited it with a match, a lighter or something, and then proceeded to grab the kids and take them out the house and then call 911. That is one evil son of a gun. That is one evil, nasty, vicious monster right there. Pure monster. Let's go on.
The doorbell footage completely contradicted Mamadou's initial story, where he claimed that he called 911 immediately upon his return home. However, this camera only captured the front entrance, so in an effort to view the house from a better angle, police decided to search the surrounding neighborhood for more surveillance footage. Fortunately, a home security camera from across the street recorded the entire sequence of events. After returning home and spending the mysterious 44 minutes inside, Mamadou places his kids in his vehicle. He is then captured nonchalantly walking back to his house and peeking through the window of the burning room. He then returned to his vehicle and placed the 911 call. This recording captured the entire 24 hours surrounding the fire and confirmed that Mamadou was the only person who entered the house that day. This discovery further fueled the detective's belief that he intentionally murdered Fatoumata. With a mountain of evidence towering over him, investigators were prepared to move forward with Mamadou's prosecution.
Well, those friends and family are most certainly heartbroken, and they want answers about why Fatoumata Diallo is now gone.
Diallo and his 2 young children made it out safely. First responders would soon discover his wife, Fatoumata Diallo, did not.
The 911 call, he never mentioned his wife was in the house for 45 seconds to a minute. I mean, if it was you and I and our loved one was in the house, the first thing I would say is get somebody here. My wife's in the basement. I can't get her out.
By the time firefighters put out the flames, it was already too late.
She was strangled with some sort of braided cable, maybe a phone cord, something of that nature.
Yes, she was very beautiful.
And then she was set on fire.
Her family and friends say they knew the couple had had problems, but never expected Fatoumata to be killed. Police reports show a history of calls to the house dating back to 2018. They mention a temporary protection order against Mamadou and tension between Fatoumata and her stepchildren.
It was very tragic. There are stepkids involved, so they lost their stepmother and father, and the two younger children lost their mother, and now their father is behind bars.
A Madison Township man accused of killing his wife made his first court appearance today. During the arraignment hearing, a judge set bond for Mamadou Diallo at $5 million. Diallo is being held in the Franklin County Jail, charged with aggravated arson, murder, and tampering with evidence. He is accused of strangling his wife, 32-year-old Fatoumata Diallo, on Thursday, then setting her body on fire with their kids inside the home. The children managed to get out of the house safely. Today, the judge also ordered Diallo to surrender all passports.
His trial began in mid-July 2023. During the trial, the prosecution proposed that an abusive Mamadou murdered his wife Fatoumata in cold blood. They presented 3 major pieces of evidence to the court. The first was the incriminating surveillance footage that captured Mamadou entering and exiting the house around the time of the fire. Although the murder is not directly caught on camera, this footage contradicts Mamadou's initial statement to the police and displays his bizarre emotionless reaction to such a traumatic event. They also heard the 911 call.
Yeah, I need a firefighter here. I got a fire in my house.
Prosecutors highlighted that Mamadou waited 45 seconds before informing the dispatcher that his wife was still inside, exemplifying his lack of urgency to save her. And lastly, a combination of family statements and police reports put Mamadou's history of domestic violence on full display. A major note from one of these reports stated, "It is in my opinion that this living situation is a powder keg of tension, most likely only a matter of time before something at this residence turns into something criminal." To wrap up their case, it was asserted that Mamadou had the means, motive, and opportunity to commit the crime, and that his actions were premeditated and deliberate. They urged the jury to find Mamadou guilty on all charges. The defense would go on to vehemently deny the allegations against their client. But after a 6-day trial, Mamadou was ultimately found guilty of 2 counts of murder, aggravated arson, tampering with evidence, and gross abuse of a corpse. On July 26, 2023, Mamadou Aliou Diallo was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 27 years. So what's the answer to the question that we asked earlier? Why was Mamadou so calm?
You want to talk to us about this incident tonight?
If I call my lawyer, that will be maybe much better.
The moment he murdered Fatoumata, his experience with police kicked in. From the 911 call to the interrogation room, Mamadou provided little to no detail and displayed little to no emotion. He was calm because he had a plan from the get-go, which ended with him invoking his Fifth Amendment right to counsel. Regardless, Mamadou Aliou Diallo now resides at the Franklin County Correction Center in Columbus, Ohio. Exactly 156 miles from Columbus is the city of Greenfield, Indiana, the home of our next subject. On October 13, 2016, 7 years before Mamadou's conviction, a man named Aaron Freilich went over to his friend Patty's house only to discover her dead body in the living room. He immediately...
So before we go to the next case, prayers to that family. I didn't hear about that case, but that is just quite horrible, right? You abused this woman, and then you literally took this woman away from her children, and you had no remorse, you had no care in the world. You really thought that you was just gonna get away with it, and her life meant absolutely nothing to you. Absolutely nothing at all. You're not a flinch, not a sense of remorse, not a I'm sorry, nothing like that. You felt that you were in your right to take this woman's life. There's no words that can describe a monster of a creature, vermin, the way this man was. And I'm glad that he got life in prison, but he shouldn't get parole after 27 years. I don't know how he was able to swing that. He should have got life in prison without parole, because it was all premeditated. You know, he did everything in advance. He knew that he was going to the shop. He did all that in advance. It should have been first degree. Seriously, it should have been first-degree murder, life without parole. That's what he should have got. So I don't know what he did to make a swing for him to get parole after 27 years of being served. But really, prayers to the family. Really, like, that just broke my heart. That's just terrible. And prayers to those children, because now they don't have a mom. And then now all your children, your stepchildren, your actual children that you had with her, they don't have no parents anymore. So at the end of the day, was it really worth it? Because now your children don't have no parents anymore. When you thought that you was the better parent. You thought that you was the better parent. And you thought you was going to walk away in rainbows and sunset and just take care of your kids. And now your kids don't have any parents because of you. All right. So here's the other case of a dumb killer and getting caught by video. Let's go on.
Immediately dialed 911.
911, where's your emergency?
We just came into a friend's house and she's dead.
Okay, where are you at?
We're in Cricket Reels.
So is she breathing at all?
No, she's dead.
Okay, all right. Does it appear to be natural or you don't know?
Her car's gone and she's dead on the couch. I'd say there's foul play here for sure.
All right. What's your name?
Aaron Fralick.
When officers from the Greenfield Police Department arrived at the scene, they took note of their surroundings. In the kitchen, the kick plate for the fridge had been knocked loose, and a purse laid on the floor with a slipper beside it. They found the other slipper in the living room, where Patty was laying face up on her couch, red marks around her neck, and wearing a red bathrobe. The sash was on the floor beside her, rather than on the robe itself. There was clear signs of a struggle, with pillows scattered on the floor. Also, her 2011 blue Ford Taurus was missing, as well as her iPad, Wi-Fi hotspot, and her 55-inch TV. It was apparent that a burglary had taken place. Just hours later, one of Patty's sons, Daniel, arrived on the scene. When the police questioned him, they quickly learned of a likely suspect, Spencer Spielman. Spencer was friends with Patty's son, Nick, and had approached Patty asking for money. So, she hired him as a handyman in exchange for cash. As time went on, things kept mysteriously going missing from Patty's home, but she didn't want to accuse Spencer right away. She became more worried when Spencer asked about one of Nick's expensive watches. So, just to be safe, she took the watch out of the box and hid it in a secret hiding spot in the house. Then, on October 12th, 2016, just a day before her murder, Patty's home was ransacked, and the burglar left the empty watch box on the table. She texted her friend saying, "Spencer broke into my house today. Didn't get what he was looking for, though." She then warned him over text, saying, "I will have you arrested and thrown in jail. Don't ever break in again. Don't test me. I know you were in my house." She also texted her son Daniel about the situation and said, "Okay, kinda scared. Can't sleep. Worried." Police immediately began searching for Spencer. Then, on October 14th at 11:10 a.m., they got news from the Hancock County Coroner's Office. Patty's death was ruled as a homicide, the murder weapon being the red bathrobe sash. It had been tied around her neck twice and was used to strangle her. Police spent the rest of the day hunting Spencer down, but he was nowhere to be found. Then, at 8:45 p.m., a 911 call was placed by a man named Dwayne Davis.
911, where's your emergency?
Did you guys find the blue Taurus that was stolen from Patty Dresser's house?
I have no idea.
Well, there's one sitting here at the Village Pantry on South 9 right now that matches.
What's the license plate?
UJF691. Is that the car?
I can't tell you that information.
Okay, well, I'm the owner of the car.
Okay, what's your name?
Dwayne Davis.
Patty and Dwayne were friends for 25 years and a couple for 7. Dwayne is a general manager of a Ford dealership where they had actually bought the blue Ford Taurus together. Even after their breakup, Dwayne was still technically the owner of the car. Coincidentally, he had just pulled up behind the blue Taurus at a red light and quickly recognized it as his own, prompting him to call 911.
Who's with the car?
2 white guys. If that's the car, I'll follow them real quick. They're leaving.
Where you at now?
We're coming up to the curb, coming toward... There's a police car right there.
As Dwayne ended the call, officers approached the Ford Taurus and 2 men were arrested.
Drop everything in your hands now. Step back towards me. Keep coming. Keep coming. Stop. Passenger in the vehicle, step out with your hands up.
The driver was Spencer Spielman, and the passenger was someone named Brandon Humphreys. Police promptly separated them and brought them down to the station for questioning. They began with Brandon Humphreys.
What we're looking into is something very serious, okay? Do you know why you're here, why you were shot?
Absolutely not. I'm baffled right now.
Okay. Who's the guy that you're with?
His name's Spencer.
Okay.
He's an old friend of mine.
Obviously, you're in the car with him tonight. What do you know about the car?
He told me it was his mom, Patricia's. And he went to the gas station, and, you know, I kind of got a little nosy, opened the glove box, and sure enough, there was a registration that said Patricia on it, so.
You said you don't know anything about the car other than it being his mom's.
I'm kind of already putting two and two together.
Okay. The car's stolen. Okay. And you being in a stolen?
So that I find that very weird. I know he's gonna lie and say he doesn't know what's going on and he doesn't know what's happening. It just seems like that's been the regular thing that most of these guys and people have been doing. But what struck me is when he said that he looked into the glove department and realized that it was registered for Patricia. Why would you be looking into your friend's glove department to see who car this registered to? So like that you know that gave me red flags. I mean, if you knew that that was his mother's car, why are you looking into the glove department to look at the registration? You said this is an old friend. So this is an old friend and his mom had this car for over what, 7 years? That means you know that that's his mom's car. So there's no reason for you to be looking in the glove department and looking at the registration to see who is registered to. Let's go on.
Car doesn't look good. You understand that? That's why we're back here, and there's a bigger issue than that. The stolen vehicle you're in is attached to a homicide.
Homicide? Like someone died in it? There's really no conversations about the car itself. He just said his mom was letting him borrow it. And I'm going to just tell you this now, just in case it pops up in the future. I did buy a TV off him. He said it came from his mom's house. So now I'm starting to think if the car was stolen.
What kind of TV was it?
It was a 55-inch Hitachi TV. And I took it to a pawn shop because I knew it was going to be money.
If you feel like you're holding something back to protect him?
No, at this point, I can give a less about him.
Okay.
Because he had me in a stolen vehicle, and now I'm learning about it's attached to a homicide.
Where our homicide happened, would there be any reason your DNA would be on any evidence inside the house?
Absolutely not. No.
If we get information from somebody else that you were involved and we're able to prove that, it's not going to look good. Are you sure there's nothing else?
I promise you there's nothing else.
I don't believe him. I think that we might find evidence that he helped his friend take that TV out of the house. Because normally you don't, if it's a 55-inch, 60-inch, it's very hard for one person to carry that TV, okay? Especially you don't want it to hit or crack against the wall or hit the door while you're trying to get it out. So if there's a video that shows him in the house helping the guy take the TV out, this dude is screwed. So let's see if he's going to crack under pressure before they find any more evidence in reference of somebody's camera, a neighbor's camera or something, saw y'all both loading that TV into the mom's vehicle.
I know I'm innocent about all this.
The detectives had no indication that Brandon was lying, so after taking Brandon's photo, they wrap up the interrogation and he is allowed to leave. They then move on to Spencer. Pay close attention to his posture throughout this interrogation. His arms are crossed, physically closing himself off to the detectives. Unlike Brandon, Spencer has a good idea of why he was brought in for questioning.
I mean, obviously the car. Patty let me use it.
Okay. All right, well, that's what we need to get to the bottom of.
I go over there to her house once or twice a week.
And we're talking about Patty.
Patty. I clean her house and stuff. Like she pays me like $100 once a month to do all her windows.
Okay.
Like clean her floors.
When asked why he had Patty's car, Spencer had an interesting story to share.
I was cleaning and she got into a fight with some old guy who was over there. She's like, blah, blah, blah. I went down. I was like, I'm leaving. She's like, oh. She was like, she let me take her car. She said, just come back in the morning because she had to go to work. So she let me use her car. I come back in the morning. I couldn't get an answer from the door or anything. I didn't know what to do. I was just going to leave her car in her driveway, the keys in it.
This old guy that she was with, Who is he?
I have no idea. When I was upstairs vacuuming, I heard her yell, John, like 3 times. So I'm guessing.
Okay, so here's my thing. If you don't live with your mom and you supposedly do all these errands, house errands and cleaning for her, how are you getting to her house if you never was in possession of a car until this moment? How are you getting there? Are you taking a bus? Are you getting a ride from your friend? Like, these are details that I would need to know that would make your statement more plausible for me. But he's not saying that. He's just saying that I will go over there, clean my mom's house and all that stuff. She'll pay me $100. And then this one day she was just like, hey, go ahead and take my car because you heard her having an argument with some guy downstairs. Why wouldn't she give you the car the whole entire time if you're going there every week to take care of her house and stuff? It just doesn't make any sense. Hi, Tequila. How you doing? Happy New Year's to you, dear. Happy New Year's. Yes. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. Is it Camero Pinoy Boy? Yeah. Well, let's go on. Let's see what lie he's going to say.
I'm guessing his name's John, but I'm not sure.
When you left, did you see anything in the driveway?
I think it was like an expedition. It was really nice.
What color was it?
White.
What Spencer doesn't realize is that the investigators have already looked at the surveillance footage from Patty's neighbor's house, and they now know for a fact that nobody had gone to the house that day. Spencer's story was completely fabricated.
You have a key to get in the residence?
I do not.
Okay.
She always lets me in. She's always sitting in the garage.
Have you got the door code? Like the keypad for the
garage door?
Yeah. So Thursday morning, is that when you brought the car back?
I got there like 7. I waited for a couple hours. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all.
Okay. But she just never answered the door?
There was not an answer.
So now we're into Friday today. What did you do when you woke up?
Went to Brandon's, loaded up one of his rims for his car. Went and tried to sell them. Pawn shops, went and get for them.
So you guys pawn anything?
No.
Okay.
You know what's so crazy about this dude and how silly he is? When it comes down to a stolen vehicle, right? You don't have a whole interrogation process like this. The simple fact that he has not even mentioned his mom or how she's doing, or did my mom call y'all and say that the car was stolen or anything, he doesn't even care about the whereabouts of his mom, is quite telling. Quite telling. He's not saying anything about his mom. Nothing. He won't even mention it. He don't even call her mom. He calls her Patricia. So that already knows that they don't really have that close mom and son bond. Oh, it's Cha. Oh, Cha Maro Pinoy. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it.
Actually, they did sell something to the pawn shop, Patty's stolen TV, as Brandon said earlier. Not only that, but before questioning Spencer, they had already confirmed this by looking at the surveillance footage from the pawn shop. Spencer and Brandon can be seen carrying in the TV. At this point, the detectives decided to confront Spencer about his lies.
You've already been checking with the pawn shops. Okay.
Didn't I tell you they was going to have a video where they're going to see them both together holding and carrying that doggone TV? Oh my God. Let's go on. How dare y'all?
Okay. We know you pawn stuff. So you had to be honest.
In there on video.
I just asked you if you pawn stuff. You told me no. So this is the time to be honest and clear.
I am being honest.
You pawned the TV.
Do what?
55-inch TV.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell us about that?
I didn't think it was.
You didn't think it was relevant.
Yeah.
Was there an agreement between you and Patty?
No.
For you to take that TV?
No.
Then why did you take it?
Because I needed money. That's the only thing I took from the house.
So the TV you took, was she home when you took it?
Do what? No.
How'd you get in the house then?
The garage door clicky thing.
The detectives are hoping that if they catch Spencer in enough lies, he will realize that the evidence is stacked against him and that the best course of action is to confess.
The White Expedition.
Mm-hmm.
They're on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the truth.
Yeah, it is. How is that not the truth?
There's video cameras. You gotta stop lying to us.
I'm not lying to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, you are.
We're shooting holes all in your story. This is a big, big deal.
What are you talking about?
What do you think we're talking about?
I'm not sure.
If you had to guess, what do you think?
Well, y'all obviously think I stole the car.
Stolen car?
I didn't steal no car. What the going on?
Murder.
Bull.
Murder.
I didn't kill nobody.
Apparently you did.
You stole her car?
No. What?
Broke in her house, stole her TV.
No.
Stole a car, stole a Mi-Fi.
I didn't kill nobody. Or steal anything.
Then you better tell us who did.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You better,
I don't have the balls to murder anybody.
Maybe you didn't mean to.
What?
This is your opportunity to tell us what happened.
I don't know.
Why, since you sit your ass in that chair. You know it. You sit there and thought it all up and you thought you had it all figured out.
No, I did not.
John. Who the hell is John?
I did not.
White truck. We got video. There ain't no white truck around.
I didn't
tell us the
anybody.
truth. Save your life.
You.
About 1 hour into the interrogation, Spencer begins to show signs of.
He really tried to act like he was a tough guy. He really tried to act like a tough guy. He really tried to act like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. F you, I'm going to leave. He's acting like a child. But I knew that eventually they were going to break him, right? Because obviously the screaming, the pouting, the crossing of the arms and all the stuff like that, none of that was going to fly with them. So let's see how he starts to break down in the interrogation process.
Of defeat.
You were there. She's dead. You got her car. I'm a jury member. What am I going to think?
I didn't kill her.
It's like you don't have any emotion that she's dead.
No, I care. I just don't show it.
Spencer, let me ask you this. Okay.
I didn't kill anybody.
Even though he sticks to his claims of innocence, his delivery is becoming more and more lethargic, and his posture slowly evolves from closed off to more open.
And who was there when you left?
That dude. I'm not lying about that either.
We've gone over and verified the times on the video. There's no expedition there. Okay. Are you saying that just because you're scared?
Yeah. I didn't.
But there's no expedition, right? We're finally getting somewhere. Okay. What were you scared about coming up with a story about her getting in the argument?
Oh, she did. She was screaming at somebody on the phone.
But that was on the phone. Did she ever take any of that anger and turn it toward you? Like, did she tell you to get out of the house?
Pretty much. And as I'm walking out the garage door, I got hit in the back of the head with something really hard. And all I remember is waking up in the Walmart parking lot with a TV in the trunk.
It hadn't been her, right?
I don't know. It was in the garage. I don't know what she grabbed.
Was she cussing at you?
She was going nuts.
Do you ever remember her falling? Having to help her up?
I think, no, she did fall off. She knocked the chair over.
Did you help her up at any point to like the couch? Did she fall down? That stuff's
I walked her over to the couch.
So you helped her on the couch?
Yeah. And she laid down.
She had a robe on when you picked her up and put her on the couch.
Yeah.
The robe, like the strap where you tie it, that was on the floor?
Mm-hmm. It was right there by the couch, I think, on the floor.
So she fell out of the chair. You've helped her onto the couch.
She hit you in the back of the head.
I took her car and left.
When we went to the autopsy, that robe, the marks around her neck, that robe was wrapped around her neck, that tie.
Oh, I didn't do that. Hell no.
We're trying to figure out how that got around her neck.
I had to choke her with it.
No, we're losing you.
Bit by bit, the detectives chipped away at Spencer's facade. What started as a completely fabricated story had turned into Spencer making several crucial admissions. And the detectives weren't done yet. About 2 hours into the interrogation, at around 1:20 a.m., everybody began showing signs of exhaustion, so they decided to go for a smoke break.
You want a cigarette, right?
Sure. You want to run out that exit door? Right there.
From the moment they walked outside, nobody spoke of the investigation. In fact, Spencer didn't speak at all. Once they finished up their cigarettes, they all made their way back into the interrogation room, and it was immediately clear that something within Spencer had changed.
I'm ready to tell y'all what happened. When I let her down on the couch, like a few minutes later, she just came up, freaking the f out, hitting me, and trying to scratch at me. I just tightened it left.
Oh my God.
I came back, and by that time, when I took it off, it was too late.
The detectives finally had a confession, but to strengthen their case even further, they wanted Spencer to volunteer information that only the killer would know. For example, the fact that the sash was wrapped around Patty's neck twice.
So, she's on the couch, she jumps up. Where was the belt, sash, whatever we want to call it?
On the little table.
Did you talk about the table next to the couch?
Yeah. So somehow you managed to get that just around once or
twice, and then
after pulling it tight around her neck, she fell back on the couch, and Spencer left. The next morning, at around 7 a.m., he came back to feed the dog and noticed that Patty had not moved from her spot on the couch. He noticed that her face was now gray. He removed the sash from her neck, but he realized that it was too late. Patty was dead. Instead of calling 911, he quickly left the premises. Following this interrogation, Spencer Spielman was charged with murder, robbery, and driving while suspended. And after an 8-day trial, he was found guilty on...
How do you do that to your mom? How do you do that to your mother, the one who birthed you? Like, when do you think that all your problems in the world is now your mother's problems? Like, when do you grow up? And then you do that, you came in with the purpose of stealing. And then when you got caught because she tried to defend herself, because I'm sure you was hitting her and pushing her or trying to push out the way while you take things. You do that to your mother and you leave her there. Then you come back and you think that everything is okay. You think that everything's okay. You literally admitted that you double knotted it, you pulled it tight, and you walked out of the house and left with her vehicle. You left with her vehicle, came back, feed the dogs, and then you see that now it's all over. And then on top of that, you thought that your DNA wasn't going to be found on her on the actual belt of the robe. You thought that that wasn't going to happen. I mean, they didn't even have to even get to that point. They didn't even have to get to that point where they tested the DNA to see who DNA was on that robe. You made up this whole lie talking about there was this dude that your mom was dealing with who was over there with a white truck and everything. And they told you there is no video footage from any area around your mom's house that lets you know that anybody else came to visit but you. And look at his eyes, guys. Like, look at his eyes. He has no remorse. He does not feel bad for what he did to his mom. Let's go on
all charges.
36. A man found guilty of murder will soon learn how long he'll be behind bars. Spencer Spielman was found guilty yesterday. He was charged after Patricia Dresser of Greenfield was strangled to death. she'd employed Spielman as a handyman at her home. Spielman is set to be sentenced at the end of August.
On August 31st, 2017, Spencer Spielman was sentenced to 55 years in prison. He currently resides at the Pendleton Correctional Facility in Pendleton, Indiana.
That was really gruesome. That one made me really upset. It really did. Like such an ungrateful child, so cruel, and it just made me sick to my stomach, really. And I hope it made y'all sick to your stomach. The things that people do, and then sometimes it could be your own kids, really, right? And you do your best, but you know, however they want to turn out, that's however they want to turn out. But prayers to that lady. That should have never happened to her. Never should have happened to her. She shouldn't have been fearful for her life from her own child that she gave birth to. That's like one of those fears that no parent, I would say no parent, not even the father, no parent will want to experience, where they have to fear the children that live under their house that they're raising. That is one scary scenario situation when you feel like that, right? But that's all I have for you guys today. I thank and appreciate y'all for rocking out with me. I'm sorry, I've been trying to fix my camera. My camera apparently doesn't want to work anymore. It probably needs to charge. It's probably overheating, so I actually just can't put on the camera. But I do want to appreciate all of y'all for rocking out with me. I will come back tomorrow with some more cases for you guys, since it seemed like y'all are very interested and you like these type of scenarios where we get to dive into the psychology of things. So just please go ahead and hit the like button on your way out. Enjoy the rest of your, what is today? What is today? Is it Thursday? Thursday? I think it's Thursday. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your first day of the new year. And I will see you on the next one. Hey, Empress Kaya, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And if you looked at my shirt earlier, that was my actual sweatshirt for my store. I will pin it later on. You can go into the description and you can get, if you're interested in that sweatshirt to be a part of the Move Around Corner Girls crew, you can go ahead. I will have examples of the Corner Boys merchandise. I will show y'all as soon as it comes in. But thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.